The Sykkuno situation just took its biggest turn yet, because after days of speculation, reactions and outside commentary, Sykkuno has finally spoken himself, and instead of a quick tweet or short response, he dropped a full statement, one that didn't just address the situation, but also included a message from his girlfriend, shifting the entire tone of the conversation. From the start, Sykkuno openly admitted fault where it mattered. He acknowledged that he had been unfaithful, and that he lied to people about being single, something he directly said was wrong, and took responsibility for. That alone immediately separated this response from a lot of the speculation that had been floating around, because it confirmed one of the core issues people had been debating. At the same time, he pushed back on the more extreme accusations. He made it clear that while he accepts responsibility for cheating and hurting people, he does not agree with some of the labels being placed on him, calling them false and saying they go too far beyond what actually happened. But the part that really changed the conversation was what came next, his girlfriend's message. Instead of staying silent, she spoke about how the situation affected her directly. She described how painful it's been to have something deeply personal turned public, saying she never wanted this to be exposed in the first place. She talked about feeling like her reality had been shattered, and how watching everything unfold online added even more stress on top of an already difficult situation. She also made something clear that a lot of people weren't expecting. Despite everything, she chose to stay and try to work through the relationship. According to her, they had already been trying to fix things privately before everything blew up, and this situation just forced it all into the spotlight. Sykkuno followed that up by saying they're now stepping away from the internet for a while, to focus on themselves, their relationship, and to deal with everything offline. On one side, you had people who respected the accountability. They pointed out that he owned up to cheating, admitted he lied, and didn't try to dodge that part. For them, that mattered. Some even said, this is exactly how situations like this should be handled. Own your mistakes, correct the record, and step away. You also saw support specifically for the girlfriend. A lot of people felt sympathy for her after reading her message, especially the part about not wanting any of this public. That shifted the focus, for some, away from internet drama, and back to the reality that this was a private relationship that got exposed to millions. Even creators like Tectone weighed in with a more balanced take, basically saying he messed up. Cheating is wrong, but at the end of the day, the relationship is between them, and if she chooses to forgive him, that's her decision, not the internet's. But on the other side, the backlash didn't slow down. It just changed direction. Some people weren't buying the response at all. They focused on the length and tone of the statement, saying it felt like damage control rather than something genuine. Others went straight at his public image, arguing that this contradicts the wholesome persona he built over the years. Then you had a more divided middle, people saying two things can be true at once, that he clearly did something wrong by cheating and lying, but that doesn't automatically justify some of the extreme accusations that were being thrown around earlier. There were also takes minimizing everything down to just cheating, arguing that the only real victim here is the girlfriend, and that the rest of the internet escalated it way beyond what it actually was.
You know what the greatest strategy about that Sykkuno thing is? Is that he never tossed me one, bro. Like, that was biblical levels of greed, how many VTubers he had, and he couldn't throw me an assist. Like, actually, like, I'm joining everyone else, actually, that guy. How are we gonna have, like, 30 VTubers and you can't toss Unc one of them?
In other news, Valkyrae and QTCinderella stepped in with a take that caught a lot of people off guard. Instead of diving into the allegations themselves, they pulled the conversation back and reframed it. Their main point? A lot of what viewers think are deep friendships in the streaming world aren't actually that. Here is Valkyrae and QTCinderella speaking on the reality of streamer friendships in the following clip.
People overestimate how much streamers know each other.
Yeah.
Ludwig said it best.
I am not your friend.
I'm not your friend.
It's hard because I understand it.
There's like a line and it's blurred.
It's funny too, because I remember when we first started this podcast, I said something along the lines of like, yeah, Ray and I aren't really like friends.
We're not. We're literally got closer because we do this pod together.
And people were so mad at me for saying that. And I was like, no,
but it's just true.
I understand where viewers will see, I stream with so-and-so every other week. That means we're best friends. It's like, they don't even know my name, you know, and that's actually really common because at the end of the day, like, we are coworkers.
Yeah.
We're very friendly coworkers.
And there's so many gamer houses.
There's so many gamer houses.
People will like move in together because it makes sense for rent. I've lived with so many people where I don't even see them. I lived at the Screamer house with Pokey, Janet, and Celine. During COVID, we hardly saw each other.
Yeah.
We were always streaming or always in our rooms and like hardly ever out and about. And it's the same with Sykkuno. Even though I've lived with him, I hardly saw him ever. And also hardly talked, but we're friends, right? So,
right.
Cause like, but then it's like, what defines a friend? I know you mentioned like, if I don't know your last name, then we're probably not friends.
If I do not know your last name, we are not friends.
A lot of people push back hard on the idea that these are just co-worker relationships. Some pointed out that creators in these groups have lived together, streamed together for years, and spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours interacting both on and off-stream. To them, calling that just co-workers felt like rewriting history. Others saw it differently. They understood the point, but felt like it was being used as a way to distance from the situation. The argument there was that redefining friendships now, in the middle of controversy, comes across less like honesty and more like damage control. There were also people calling out specific moments from the past, bringing up clips and statements where certain creators openly described each other as best friends. That made the shift in tone now feel inconsistent to some, especially to long-time viewers. Then you had the more cynical takes, people saying this proves that a lot of what viewers see in streamer groups is performative, that the friend group image is part of the brand, and when things go wrong, it quickly switches back to business relationships. And finally, there were those who leaned fully into the idea, agreeing that viewers have always overestimated how close these creators really are. From that perspective, this situation is just exposing something that's always been true. Streaming is a job first, and relationships in that space can reflect that. In other news, this all starts with Pokimane, who recently addressed the situation and framed it in a much broader way. Instead of focusing only on the relationship itself, she suggested that situations like this can involve multiple victims, not just the person being cheated on, but potentially others affected depending on the circumstances. That take didn't sit right with everyone, and that's where XQC steps in, sharing in the following.
Now, Poki replies, you realize that people can be victim of cheating. Okay. In this instance, that would be one victim of cheating. But she said victims. Now, who is the next victim? Yeah, she chose her words heavily. She said all the victims. Brother, I said who are the victims with an S. Like, this is her own wording. Who are the victims? Who as in multiple. Not who is, who are. Victim of cheating. I mean, sure, but we don't know that either. Clearly there was more than one girl speaking to, and likely others. You're fighting over semantics. Yo, this is not semantics. No, this is not semantics. What? No, just no. Just no. Sorry. Just no. If somebody is in a relation and they speak to somebody else, is that person also a victim? Is everybody a victim? I mean, what means semantics? Guys, if I say somebody robbed a bank, and so he says, yo, this guy robbed all the banks. Oh, no, you're doing semantics. No, robbing a bank and robbing all the banks are two absolutely different statements. And one speaks of the severity of it. And I don't think semantics are a thing here. It's awful. Is somebody a serial cheater, massive mastermind of a multiple? No, I mean, up to the worst that this could be is one cheat. That's the worst it could be. And in that sense, there could, of course, one victim of cheating. Done. That's it. Any other statement is damaging, and it's generally it's libel. It's defaming. It's untrue.
At this point, the situation shifts from being just about Sykkuno's actions to a bigger conversation about accountability, language, and how online communities escalate situations. Because now you've got one side saying cheating can have wider impact, emotionally and socially, and the other side, led by XQC here, saying if you expand definitions too much, you risk misrepresenting the situation entirely. And that clash is exactly what led to this clip.
You gotta do 6-7.
Oh shit.
Holy yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, nah, this shit, you know.
Holy shit. You don't know how to get more than you. Oh my god.
Rest in peace!